Welcome back to Home Gym Hacks and Reviews. Today I'll be reviewing the Rogue Narrow Multi-Grip Camber Bar, also known as MG-4CN. I never thought I would review another barbell on this channel because I sold my last power rack and my entire barbell collection a couple of years ago when I switched to almost exclusively machine-based training. But here I am, funny enough, with a brand new power rack right in the middle of my gym and a pretty expensive bar to review. I will tell you now, it's very good with one minor flaw. Stay tuned. Luckily, I didn't purchase the first Rogue multi-grip camber bar that was released a couple of years ago because there were a lot of unhappy customers. First off, that bar was quite a bit wider than this one at 10 inches as opposed to 7 inches, so a lot of users complained that it was wobbly and lacked stability. Secondly, it only came with one set of handles instead of two, and those handles had a thinner diameter. Thirdly, I don't even think it came with washers, so when people were adjusting these handles along the frame, their frames were getting scratched up. To make things right with their customers, Rogue even went so far as to offer anyone who bought the original multi-grip camber bar a chance to swap it out for this one and only pay shipping. Now, there were a few people who liked the original bar. However, it was one of Rogue's lowest rated products at 3.3 out of 5, whereas this one is 5 out of 5. I also think it's really interesting, when that bar first hit the market, it was $4.95. When I checked a few weeks ago, it was marked down to $250. And when I checked last night, the original bar has been marked down to $100 as a hot deal grab bag item. I have extremely high expectations for Rogue, maybe unrealistic expectations, but I wasn't very happy with my last two purchases from them. First off, I got some rollers and the padding was coming unstitched, and I got some safety spotter arms for the Rogue Rhino, and it looked like they were full of rust on the inside. When I contacted Rogue, they told me that was completely normal and the result of oxidation. But what I will say is the Rogue Rhino didn't look like that on the inside, and my power rack doesn't look like that on the inside. What do my metalworkers think? I ordered the multi-grip bar on a Monday and received it on a Wednesday, an absolutely impressive turnaround. As I've come to expect from Rogue, everything was beautifully packed. It would take some serious roughhousing on the part of UPS to damage anything that's inside of this box. The bar comes disassembled, which makes it easier to ship, so let's start with the 41-inch frame, also known as the chassis. It's 11-gauge steel and has 25 holes in 1-inch increments. I love that I can see who built the bar because it adds accountability, but it also adds an element of ownership and pride into the person making the product. And here are the sleeves that will need to be installed with a wrench that is included. I also ordered a set of the straight handles to increase my grip options, and you have to love the care that Rogue took to protect the knurling on these handles. I also think it's impressive Rogue includes the QC checklist, which is just an additional step to ensure order accuracy. A parts list is included, as well as instructions for bar assembly. I don't want to make a joke out of this, but the size of these 1.5-inch nuts is insane. It really makes the bar look impressive, and it adds a lot of strength where the sleeve connects into the frame. The sleeves slide right into the frame, and these big old nuts get tightened with this big old wrench. To determine handle spacing, I found the push-up positions that felt most natural and put the 16-degree handles where I'll be bench pressing and the straight handles where I'll be doing the close grip bench press. I left off the 12-degree handles for now. I really like the degree of each handle's angle is engraved in the end, so I don't have to figure out which one is which. The bolts go about 1/3 of the way through the handles, which really makes them rock solid. And with the washers in place, I tightened each handle's bolts and the bar was ready to go in minutes. This is a very cool looking bar. The standard knurl handles look awesome, and I am really glad that I went with the stainless steel sleeves as opposed to the matte black. Even though it cost me $120 more, it's a whole lot better than having that powder coat rub off. For the space that I'm working with, I am really glad that I went with the 9-inch loadable sleeves instead of the 15.5-inch loadable sleeves, but this setup makes the bar weigh 48 pounds and it's about 71 inches long. Whereas if I got the 15.5-inch loadable sleeves, it would have made the bar weigh 58 pounds and it would have been about 84 inches long. So this is a much more maneuverable bar and a lighter bar. Here is how wide the bar would have looked in my gym if I would have gotten the 15.5-inch loadable sleeves. And just for some frame of reference, this is where the bar actually ends. Even better, I saved $100 by going with the shorter sleeves. These sleeves are ribbed, so unless I take my plate off perfectly, it does make that sound, as opposed to that sound on a smooth finish. I've always preferred a smooth finish, but this does have an advantage in that I don't need to put collars on my bar when I'm pressing. Also, I want to point out that this comes with one of these little Allen wrenches, and if I want, I can loosen this bolt and make this sleeve spin. I've left it tightened since the day that I got it, just because I prefer more stability when I'm pressing. The end caps look good, and they say this bar is performance tested, and of course made in the USA. I also think it's really cool that Rogue is laser cut into the frame of the bar. The bar's 3.5-inch camber offers a greater range of motion and a deeper stretch when pressing. Also, it improves the stability of the bar because the bar's center of mass relative to my hand position is lower. Now I want to show how involved it is getting one of these handles on here. I've kept this handle placement the same since I've had this bar. I've only taken this out for purposes of this review, and I will tell you by taking it out, I did get some scratches on the bar. Now, it's not all that difficult to get these on here. It only takes about a minute. Each one of these handles is about 5 inches long and has a diameter of about 1.5 inches. If you look through the frame's hole and line it up with the hole that's in the handle, that makes it a lot easier. So you tighten up one bolt on one side and then one bolt on the other. And if you have wrenches in your pocket, it goes a lot faster, especially if you have 2 of them. So just like that, the handle is on the frame. What really separates this bar from all the other multi-grip bars on the market is how customizable it is. Out of the box, I don't have to worry about this bar not fitting me correctly because I determine which handles I use and the widths of those handles. It's not a one size fits most, it's a one size fits me. Next, what feels good today might not feel good tomorrow. So anytime I plateau with one of these handle spacings, or if one of them start to hurt my shoulder, I simply change it out for another one. Although this bar is expensive and there are plenty of cheaper options, I feel like I have a whole bunch of different multi-grip bars with just this one. For example, at one point in time, I had the Titan Fitness multi-grip bar and I had the Extreme Monkey multi-grip neutral bar, and this bar can take the place of both of those and do everything those bars do much better. Now here's where some of that praise comes to an end. If I look at this side of the bar, the nut fits very tightly against the frame. If I look at this side, there is a very noticeable gap. If I look straight down, I can see daylight. In fact, if I take my PowerTech manual, I can slide this right in there. I can't do that on this side. I contacted Rogue and told them about this, and they said unless I can find some type of a defect, it is within their specs. Both sleeves stick out exactly 15 inches from the frame, but it's just like this one side needs another quarter turn that I can't do. This is a 15-page manual that fits between the nut and the frame, and I tried doing everything to fix this. First off, I just simply swapped the nuts. That didn't make a difference. I tried swapping the sleeves, but even with a rubber mallet, I couldn't get them out. I made sure that I tightened down everything as tight as it could possibly be, and that didn't make a difference either. So there is some type of a defect right here, which is keeping that nut from fitting all the way against the frame. Here's a closer look at what the side width the gap looks like. I can fit my thumbnail through there. And over on the other side of the bar, the nut fits all the way against the frame, and there's no way I can get my thumbnail through that part. When I contacted Rogue, I told them, while I don't see any visual imperfections, there is obviously an issue if I can fit a 15-page manual between the nut and frame on one side of the bar and not the other, and I sent them a picture of that, and unfortunately, I never heard anything back. So when I spend $650 on a bar and there's this visual discrepancy between the sides, I am a little bit disappointed, especially when you're dealing with something like a barbell that you want perfectly balanced. But I am happy to say when I am pressing, I don't notice any type of a balancing issue, even though it is visually distracting. And I am just going to leave this situation as it is. I'm not going to try to get in touch with Rogue anymore. I'm just going to keep on pressing. Now, of course, I share this as a reviewer because I want you to be aware that this could potentially be an issue with your bar. And when I read through the reviews on Rogue's website, I don't think I'm the only one that has had an issue with these sleeves fitting in here correctly. So some people wouldn't be happy about this issue. Some people wouldn't care, and some people probably wouldn't even notice, but this really comes down to this bar being shipped disassembled. I've had this bar for a couple of months. In fact, I got it a few weeks before I got my new power rack, but of course I wanted to try it out right away. So I laid back on my bench with the bar unloaded and I started pressing. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this bar is so unstable. Obviously, it had been a while since I had used a multi-grip bar, but I also remember thinking to myself, I might have just made a big mistake in spending all the money that I did on this bar, because remember, I've used machines for the last couple of years and I like a lot of stability with my lifts, which this wasn't giving me. Luckily, when the power rack finally arrived and I loaded some weight on here, a lot of that instability went away. In fact, the heavier I load this bar, the more stable I think it feels. Also, just the more I use it and the more familiar I get with it, the more stable it feels. And if I angle the bar just ever so slightly when I'm pressing, that takes some of that wobble out too. If you've used a multi-grip bar, you've probably experienced not being able to lift quite as much weight as you can with a traditional straight bar. But nowadays, I'm not so worried about how much weight I'm lifting as I'm worried about how the lift feels. So when I can angle my hands and press with this bar, it takes a lot of the stress off of my shoulders, wrists, and elbows, where if I compare that back to my days of Olympic barbell pressing, and that was the center of my universe, I was constantly dealing with shoulder, wrist, and elbow pain. When I press on the PowerTech Leverage and the PowerTech Multi-Press, I try to angle my hands ever so slightly. And even when I press on the PowerTech Smith machine, I still try to angle my hands because this is what feels best for my joints, and I also think it feels best for my muscles. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show this bar being used with a lot of weight because I've lost over 30 pounds in the last few months and my pressing strength has gone way down. There was a point in time when I could dumbbell press the 100s for 12 to 14 reps, and I even got the 110s for 1 rep, but those days are long gone while I remain at this weight. However, I don't think I've ever looked better, and that could be because I'm back to barbell pressing. Here is a word of caution for anyone who's new to using a multi-grip bar. If I get pissed that I didn't beat the logbook and let go of the bar and sit up too fast, or if I'm happy that I got a new PR and let go of the bar and sit up too fast, the bar could spin down and hit me in the head because it's naturally going to spin down. So I need to let go of the bar, let it finish spinning, and then sit up, or I'm going to have one heck of a headache. Of course, the bar is great for flat pressing, the knurled handles feel fantastic, and the camber in the bar allows for a deep stretch and a full range of motion. It's been great for incline presses. Luckily, the 7-inch wide frame doesn't obstruct the movement. I also really like using the bar for neutral close grip tricep presses. I probably won't use the bar for overhead presses because even though it has a narrow frame, it's still a little bit too wide for me, and I think an Olympic bar is a better option for this exercise. I mainly got this bar for pressing, but for anyone who wants to try to expand its versatility, it can be used for hammer curls, and it can also be used for tricep overhead extensions. I've tried to set up the bar for incline Kelso shrugs, but my bench's frame gets in the way. However, it works great for Kelso shrugs on my DIY seal row platform. Even though Kelso shrugs work great on my platform, seal rows don't work that well, even with the bar's 3.5-inch camber, because when I bring the bar up, it bangs the bottom of the platform. Of course, this isn't going to happen on a real seal row bench. So instead of using the multi-grip bar, I use a traditional Olympic bar and the Kensui Swissies for seal rows on my platform. If I only had this bar, it does work okay for shrugs, but I would prefer to use an Olympic bar and have the weight closer to the center line of my body. And if you have a power rack and a bar, you will probably never need to do it, but it can be used for pull-ups. Something else that I think is really cool about these multi-grip bars is that it can work different muscles depending on which way it's facing. So for example, if I'm chest pressing, this is how I'm going to have the bar. However, if I turn the bar around and then do-si-do around the rack and take this grip, now I have a reverse grip tricep press. Overall, I am extremely happy with this bar, and it has been a great addition to my training program. If I hyper-focus on this gap, I can get a little bit disappointed, but as I mentioned earlier, when I'm pressing, I don't notice any imbalances. Now, I'm not an affiliate for Rogue anymore. I'm just a customer, but I am an affiliate for PowerTech. So if you purchase any PowerTech product, please consider using my affiliate link at no additional cost to you. It helps me out, but more importantly than that, it lets PowerTech know that I'm helpful to their brand. And if you found this video helpful, please consider liking it and leaving a comment. And remember, if your equipment lacks, I got the hacks. Take care, everyone.